Alright, interesting. I'm literally playing against someone who apparently watches me on YouTube, but it's fine. I'm just mildly surprised because I'm not exactly a popular YouTube channel. Alright, found the Smolensk. Has his AA on. It's gonna be very dangerous because I have to hook around this island, which could have many very nasty ships. I'm gonna do it anyway. See if the Tims can find their victim. A bit off on the alignment, so I'm not gonna have a perfect drop, as you can see from the side of the reticle. Skimming hit. Turns outward. I match. It's ticking. My fire's ticking. Probably gonna trim one more. Thankfully he did it before. At the reticle, so there's no reticle jerk. Another fire. 8,000. He's gonna be feeling that one. My force is deploying to A. Move the carrier. Enemy hack attacking the Azuma. He's pretty vulnerable, so I'm gonna give him a flyover. And then go back for Holland, or Smolensk. You can see the difference between the Smolensk and the Holland in terms of AA. I know he doesn't have smoke. Ostergotland swooping in. Hack harassing the Azuma, or aborting it looks like. Looking for the Oland. So I bought the Azuma some time. Alright, I'm getting shot at by the Montana. Oh, I'm getting attacked as well by the hover. He's giving me a nice hover. Obviously annoying, but respectable. Fly through some flak because I got distracted glancing at my hull. But this should kill him, he's popping a heal. Even if I don't hit him physically, the spotting should get him killed. He's turning out and away into my bomb path, so should be an easy dispatch. Brindisi follows quite easily. Continue moving away. PSV rectify, okay. Well, he's gonna smoke. Nothing I can do about that. Return onto path. Baltimore. The fighter is still hovering me. Let's see if I can spot out that second GD inside of C. Carrier is delayed, taking planes off from the hull. Fletcher up north. So my team will have a better chance of dispatching that, so better to keep my team vision here on this side. We're gonna secure a cap in response, so now we're even. Up points because we got the early kill. However, I have a fairly sizable force, so there's a very good chance of lemming, so it's very important that I protect the rear guard here. See a smoke in the middle. Above C. Can't be the Brindisi, it's probably the Smolensk. I'm gonna look for the Oland. Baltimore. No easy targets here. Maybe I'll just make one hit onto the Baltimore. Taking the full squadron is not recommended, but I want to put out as much damage as possible. And he doesn't heal, so... The Oland is probably headed towards B cap, more than likely. Just gonna F. So I'm pushed very far away because of the spotting. And because the carrier AI is absolutely ridiculously stupid. So you can see my sortie time has increased a large amount. The carrier AI requiring that I take a very large turning circle. They're chasing up north, which is very poor against the Brindisi. Baltimore separating from the Montana, surprisingly, so I can actually go pick him off potentially while guarding B on the way. If anything touches B, then I'll see it. Hack going once more after my separated guys. Moigan popping fighter. Gonna interfere. Going after the Baltimore. Remember, I did get that fire. So far, going very slowly this game. They find the Fletcher again. Hopefully, they can dispatch him. If they spend any more time chasing him, they're gonna have some problems. Bringing the full weight of my bomber squadron. The Olin reveals himself. My fighter tags. 3. Not bad. 4, 5. Okay, my carrier AI is absolutely not the brightest. Still struggling to make that turn and return me to the battlefield. Brindisi on the other side kills one of those gearings on my team. I launch a little early, but should be fine to make a hit. Okay, the carrier picks the most ridiculously stupid route possible to launch aircraft. Thankfully, the border at least gives me a little bit of bounce, launching torpedo bombers in order to cycle squadrons. So we have a lemming train, they have a lemming train. They failed to secure the Fletcher. So I should actually go up and secure him. He's on the way to spawning, well, ships up there, I guess. Baltimore is almost dispatched. He does go down. Okay, I managed to manually reverse my hull off the side. Can I get it to go forward? Montana's fairly exposed. You see, like, I really needed to spot this out so they could finish him off and not do this. But he's so far away, especially with the way my hull decided to maneuver. That's not easy to do. Montana crossing. He has a fire currently. See if we can hook him up with a flood. Midway bombers, of course, take an extensive amount of time to arm. Gonna be a lot of AA, so hold on to my heel for as long as possible. Still, you see that plane instantly die. Doesn't look like I'm going to have enough health to go more than once. Yamato and Soyuz together, both fairly mediocre AA ships. Torpedoes are probably a miss based on the fact that I don't have hits yet. Do manage to score 1 hit and a flood, 2 hits and a flood, I will take it. Again, you can see the distance that I am away from the battlefield means that it's not easy for me to engage. Montana with a Smolensk. I need these guys to separate a little bit. They're still chasing the Fletcher, which is obviously a very poor thing. That North Carolina on the edge, I can't really defend because of the distance he's away. Montana did damage control the flood. Going to try and duck and weave my way through the AA to get onto the Montana. Bring the full squadron again. Yamato AA touches me briefly. Mogami is spooked into popping a fighter. I have a full squadron, so I do have to be very careful. If I hit a flak left, it's going to have some disastrous consequences. Gliding over, already lost 4 planes. Very expensive attack, as you can see. But very necessary to bring the full squadron to ensure I can actually make the attack. Do score fire in the end. Time to interrupt the 2 ships in the middle. Now they're in a crossfire. They're sandwiched between our whole team, so it should be easy enough to cripple. I'm gonna go for the Yamato first, because he is the overmatched threat that can obliterate my Yamato in North Carolina from his current position. Also, he's a bit easier to put down in spite of the Sovietsky Soyuz's inferior bulge, because he has no Russian damage control. Arming at 7 kilometers for the Midway. No heal this time, but the combined AA of the 2 battleships shouldn't be too high. The Brindisi that was on the run from the beginning is picking off ships still, which is very aggravating. Zoom out of the combined AA. Check the spacing. Looks like I have space to make another full attack. A full 6 torpedo double flood strike. He drops a fighter on top of the Olin, but I'm actually here for the Yamato, so it's quite alright with me. And trim one last fighter. I'm hoping I have enough space. I'm not sure. Looks like I do. And 3 fish into the water. If he floods at all, he dies. No time to waste. We're not exactly a secure game. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and he dies. Now we put down the Soyuz. You can see that pushing across the whole map like this in chasing is not exactly on my list of recommended activities. He pops a fighter. Would be best not to attack here, but I have no choice. I've already committed. Looks like he popped it too early on the last attack, which means I will get 2 attacks off. Tiny Tims easily shred the Soyuz because of their insane 68mm of penetration. I score a fire, which he does not seem to have a damage control for, and it should be easy enough to line up another Tiny Tim strike here. Frag number 3, now I can go for this Mogami in the center. On the other side, the Soyuz does manage to dispatch my... I'm gonna adjust my course so I don't beach. He does dispatch my ship. Montana that we left earlier is still alive. Yamato and GK being harassed by the Oland. Now the Mogami does actually have fearsome HE DPM, more than Manzao actually, so it's actually quite worth dispatching. See what he does. I assume he's going to turn in toward me, which means I shouldn't have to straighten out too much. You can see my HEDB reserves are not exactly doing so hot. Expecting him to straighten. Most people don't intentionally beach themselves. Swoop out and away. Pretty ugly hit for me. No fire as well. Pretty good reserves on rockets. Everything else I'm pretty lit. Normally I wouldn't arm this bomber strikes quite so early, but because he's done a lovely job beaching himself for us, should be able to slam him again. Use the mountain, dodge most of the Mogami's pathetic AA. And I can come back for another hit. On the side, the Montana does go down. Ostergotland on my side finally finalizes the Brindisi. I'm here only to get a fire. That bomber is gonna die in spite of its tier 10 health. No hits. Sad but true. The Montana died on the edge, so now I'm not that concerned. He was the only threat that could threaten me there. So now I can go after the Mogami with the rocket planes, popping engine cooling in order to cycle in the fastest way possible. Hack on the run. My team did chase them across the entire map. Not an advisable activity. I think this game would have been much easier if they'd gone for B, but we're gonna do our best. Can't have myself getting shown up by my subscribers, right? Double fire, but because of cruiser damage control timer, he should have damage control soon. Have to loop all the way around because I cannot do the mountain. If I go over the mountains, it'll disrupt the altitude and aim distance of my rockets. Trades for GK. Mogami showing off its insane damage potential. 2 rockets left. No, normally I'd recall these, but it's just a Tirpitz. Oh, there's actually a small one there, so it's probably going to be a huge waste of time, but... Oh, I could have dropped the fighter onto the Yamato, so that was probably the correct option there. But what can you do? Yaddy yaddy. You can see smallest long-range A is not that impressive. I did manage actually to get the 2-plane strike off. Small hack Oland. Let's go for the small first. Not the most impressive damage total, but we're getting it done. Hack going after something with rockets, probably the Hipper. He's pretty dead, I can't really defend him, so what I think I'm going to do is loiter, search for the Oland, and drop the Yami a fighter, and encourage him to go into B with me. There he can share in my AA, Olin gets lit briefly, so now I can just finish him off. HEDBs are obviously useless against the hack. More or less, the only thing I can damage is the smokestack. Olin has pretty good AA for tier 8, about half of a Cleveland worth. Oh, looks like the Hipper survived, so I should have actually defended him. My Oster got firing off one gun. Looks like my Yami's firing HE as well. Give him some good lead. 2 splatters. Oh, okay. So the hack is actually pretty low, but you can see the problem is he has his fighters up and I don't have that much boost. So because my Midway bombers are so slow, it actually takes full speed to go in, and his fighter's probably going to tag me before I get through. Oh. Well, with the dispatch of the hack, it is enough of an advantage for us to close out the game, for pointing out. I wouldn't say I hard carried that. I did KS my way to 4 kills, but a pretty good game at 148,000. 13 torpedo hits, 16 bomb hits, 10 incaps, 4 kills, as I mentioned, 11 fires, 4 floods, 1 defended ribbon, 10 spotting ribbons, 25 rockets, and 5 planes interdicted by fighter. That's good for 1 confed and not much else. Team score wise, 1900, not bad. My Yamato who clung on, who kind of pushed through in the north and pulled downward, did actually do a pretty good job. A bit of a difficult game for the enemy hack by the looks of it. Looks like he struggled a little bit. Brindisi, who was getting chased, had an easier time picking off ships, but again, they kind of ran out of time. You can see the early destroyer deficit, especially the small one that we picked off early on, did definitely hurt them a lot. Detailed report wise, you can see mostly battleship damage, but a pretty good distribution. Now, in the past, the Midway torpedoes were pretty poor, but as you've seen me use them here, they're actually pretty good at picking off battleships when you can get to use them, like on that Yamato, who I absolutely crippled. Not so much of the raw damage. The Yamato has a huge torpedo belt, and the Midway torpedoes don't hit that hard individually, but because he was kind of sitting still and was able to stack torpedo hits onto him, I was able to really give him a run for his money. So these days, because they buffed the torpedo damage and they buffed the flood chance, they actually do use them quite a bit. Torpedoes are more or less the most reliable munition because unlike the RNG nature of dive bombs and even rockets, they just basically go in a straight line where the reticle tells you they're going to go. So when you can use them, they're the best munition to use. I know for that reason, a lot of people don't actually use the BTG on the Midway. They prefer to use the Tier 9 aircraft. Oh, I should probably comp that guy because, well, he said hi, so fine. I will, you know, mama didn't raise me to have no manners. But anyway, as I was mentioning, because of that, a lot of people opt to use the A1 or AD1 Sky Raider because this is a 2x4 squadron, so you launch 8 planes at a time, and they launch in pairs, and they drop 4 torpedoes in pairs, and it's a much more similar reticle to the Saipan. The damage is not improved at all. It's still the 5,000, but it aims a lot faster. As you saw me with the BTDs, this is my preferred spec of the Midway torpedo bombers. You have to arm them out very, very far, and particularly outside of AA in order to make good use of them. And as a result, I take TBM1. I know a lot of people that I know prefer to take aerial torpedoes, modification 1 for 2 extra knots of speed, just to get increased reliability that way. But my preference is to take the extra 5 seconds, arm outside of AA, and try and get a good, nice, accurate first hit and follow up. That aside, I will read that later. I do take bomber's health, because of course as I've iterated on many high tier carriers, because the torpedo bombers have a heal, put your HP onto the squadron without. Flight control module for extra slots, and then I take plane HP. The Midway planes are kind of slow. They're actually slower than the Audacious Strike planes at 170 maximum speed and a cruising speed of I think like 139. So they're quite slow. So as a result, speed benefit or speed upgrades that are percentage based don't benefit them quite as much. Before I go, I'm going to minimize that. I will read that later. Thank you for your kind words. I'm just going to assume they're kind anyway, give you the benefit of the doubt. But before we continue, so this is the Core 9 Special. This is my preferred spec. I know some people, such as Top Tier on YouTube, prefer not to take torpedo acceleration because it increases the arming distance required for your torpedoes to arm, but I personally find it that having faster torpedoes is better than having slower torpedoes. Like he likes to take plane speed a lot. Sometimes I'll not take plane speed at all in terms of improved engines for the 2.5% speed. Especially on my Japanese carriers, I just don't bother. But I really find torpedo acceleration to be valuable. So this is my Core 9 set. So it takes servicing time, torpedo acceleration, and then aircraft armor and survivability expert. From there, as a Midway captain, I would probably recommend speed first. I did mention that I don't take the speed module, but captain skills are different from modules. I'm not losing planes by taking 2 points in my captain skills. I'm just potentially sacrificing 2 1-pointers or adrenaline rush, so there's no problem with that. After that, probably last gasp or demolition expert. And I think I would take everything up here, the 15 skills up here, before I took concealment expert. Concealment is great on the Midway, but because she is a tier 10 carrier with that armored deck, even though she would have like, what is this, 15-6 concealment, I think, without concealment expert, it's manageable if you position sufficiently. With that said, just a quick subscriber special. Or subscriber grudge match? Actually, no. I guess the next time we meet in Matchmaker will be a subscriber grudge match. So we will be calling this one the subscriber special in the Midway. I will catch you all later, and I hope you enjoyed. Cheers.